This is your Barbados Today morning news update for Friday, July 26, 2019. Thanks for joining us. I'm Carol Williams. Bad idea. The umbrella body for trade unions has come out swinging against the proposed construction of a beach club at Accra Beach, Rockley, Christchurch as part of the planned redevelopment of Blue Horizon Hotel. Dennis DePisa, the General Secretary of the Congress of Trade Unions and Staff Associations, CTUSAB, says developers and the authorities must understand the importance of preserving windows to the sea and for all residents to have access to beaches across Barbados.
If we are to ensure that Barbadians, people who live here, who work here, who reside here, have access to the public beaches of Barbados without any type of reservation, we should ensure that these proposed projects are put on the land side of the island. I am suggesting that not only should they go on land side, but government should move to earmark those areas which will become part of the reserve of the country, which projects of such a nature will not take place.
CTUSAB President Edwin O'Neill pointed to a troubling pattern relative to beach access.
All along our coast, we are becoming aware of this creeping invasion, this creeping restriction to beach access. A stone's throw away from us in the Bridgetown area, it has been reported and I've seen where well, there are no hotels there, but operators are staking out a significant portion of the beach with beach chairs first thing on morning. This year, it is for their guests. Our observations and our reports are, it is really a cordoning off. And you're saying to Barbadians, this place is not for you. A word of warning to the wise is sufficient.
Entertainer Anthony Mighty Gabby Carter is among persons who've publicly vowed to take action to prevent the construction. Prime Minister Mia Mottley says Barbados is prepared to let the status quo remain with LIAT. This after recent talks with Antigua and Barbuda on purchasing the majority of Barbados' 49% stake in the regional air carrier collapsed. Antigua and Barbuda's Prime Minister Gaston Brown has charged that Barbados wants his government to purchase their majority shares for $88 million. Even as the LIAT board meets today, Mottley declined to give specifics about the negotiations.
The matter is still subject to negotiations and discussions. I have said that I'm not going to make a habit of negotiating across the oceans, that the oceans are made to sail on or to fly over, but not to negotiate over. Suffice it to say, however, that obviously they're taking a little longer than we anticipated, and negotiations either work, in which case they're successful, or they don't work, in which case you revert to the status quo ante.
On another matter, the Prime Minister announced the establishment of a new national honor during yesterday's post-cabinet briefing.
Cabinet last week agreed to the framework for the establishment of a new national honor, this one to be established by Act of Parliament and not by letters patent by Her Majesty. But this one would be the Freedom of Barbados, which would be after the National Hero of Barbados, which is in a class of its own. It would be the highest national award at the same level as the Knight or Dame of St. Andrew, which is the highest local award. And we agreed that similarly, a person can opt for either therefore the Knight or Dame of St. Andrew or the Freedom of Barbados. They would be treated at the same level. The Freedom of Barbados would be referred to, person who receives that honor would be referred to as the most honorable, that there would be no more, as happens now, of 3 at the national level, whether Knight or Dame of St. Andrew or Freedom of Barbados, but then 2 honorary ones can be awarded every year.
It's working. Health and Wellness Minister Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Bostick delivered a glowing report on the performance of the 24-hour service at the Winston Scott Polyclinic, which began on July 1st. He was speaking at yesterday's post-cabinet briefing.
For the first 2 weeks of the service, the polyclinic saw approximately 1,400 persons, with the majority of persons coming between 8 a.m. and midnight. After midnight, there's been less traffic, around 10 per night, but these numbers we expect to increase as time goes on. And in fact, we anticipate that by the end of the first month, the polyclinic should have seen, the service, the 24-hour service should have seen about 3,000 persons. This, of course, has started to have a positive impact on patient flow at the Accident and Emergency Department of the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. And I would like also to thank the staff of the QEH and the board for their assistance in ensuring that the transition from patients being seen at A&E to the 24-hour service has been going so far quite well.
No cause for concern, the Central Bank's Director of Research and Economic Analysis is giving that assurance after it was confirmed this week that government's domestic debt restructuring program affected the financial system. But despite the measure resulting in an overall decline in the value of assets of financial institutions, Director Anton Belgrave says there wasn't any destabilization.
The other place we would have seen the impact of the debt restructuring is in terms of the bank's profits. Now, the commercial banks have traditionally been fairly profitable and fairly consistently profitable, although the bankers might argue that their profitability has been challenged over time. But as you can see from the debt restructuring in 2018, the banks actually made losses. And these losses led to a return on assets of negative 0.2%, whereby the traditional return on average on assets tends to be more in the region of 1% and higher. And I would tell you, our commercial banks don't think 1% plus is adequate in terms of their capital invested. So this is obviously another area whereby the banks will be looking to recover from the losses from the debt exchange.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
Turning now to Trinidad, the death toll from a violent bandit attack at sea continued to rise yesterday as the bodies of 2 more missing fishermen surfaced. The 2 were among 7 lost at sea when gun-toting bandits held them up, beat them and forced them to jump overboard the fishing vessels on Monday night. So far, 4 bodies have been found. And internationally, more than 100 Europe-bound migrants and refugees are feared dead after the boat they were traveling in capsized off Libya's coast in the Mediterranean Sea. The boat was carrying 250 people when it sank. Officials say 134 migrants and refugees were rescued. That's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook. And sign up for breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as Screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM. I'm Carol Williams. Have a good day.